It was great to see all the various components and moving parts that Angular offers, but it'd be nice if I could see kind of how I can bring all of that together and add that back into that component that we took a look at really the very beginning of Module 3. So how can I bring it all together there, actually connect those building blocks?
Sure. Let's take a look at this. So the first slide I have up here is just kind of clarifying, as we talked about putting things together. How do we put a component inside of another component? And I know you've seen me do this a few times here now, but let's just kind of keep it, clarify it here. The left side here, we have a component. This is the parent component. It could be any parent component, essentially. And if we also create on the right side a child component, and to put those inside of each other, remember, there's two parts to it. The child component class name, which is child component, right? That's a directive, right? So we have to make sure that the parent component expects that directive. So in the parent component, in the directives array, we're going to add the child component directive we want to use, and perhaps any other component we want to use, directive that we want to use right in there. And also, of course, we want to make sure in the template, wherever we want that entire component to be placed, we use the selector for that child component. In this case, just the word child. Nothing really needed on the child component. The child component doesn't need to know that it's inside of the parent component. It's more that the parent component needs to know that it expects a child component. So in the template, it looks for that selector called child. And definitely suggest you to practice with this, use this a few times, and add components out of components. And after you do it a few times, it will truly make a lot of sense. Awesome. So let's also look at the providers. Again, we've seen this before, but it's nice to see it clearly and kind of visibly here, where we have a component, in this case, the parent component, and perhaps we want to add certain providers in the parent component, for example, the task service, because we want to use the task service and whatever case may be. So what you see there again is that the task service is a provider, right? A service is a provider, so that gets imported, in the providers array, where we have their task service, and other libraries like the HTTP providers or whatever it might be. And if we want to use that task service, we want to go a little extra and make sure that our constructor has what they call dependency injection, essentially saying, I'm expecting to utilize this, I'm expecting to retrieve this. And of course, we can keep it public and say, the variable named task service with a lowercase t, which really that part right there could be anything you want. It could be X, but of course, by all means, never use just X for it. We want to be descriptive. I'm just trying to point out that that's the part you can really modify if you wanted to. And then we have to specify the type, which is task service. And that's the most important part. We're saying the public task service will be type of the task service provider. And then from there on, of course, we can do whatever we want. In that case, I just showed that we can store the tasks variable. We can store the value of the task service tasks. Cool. So let's try these in action.